Every empire began with words, every fortune, every revolution, every miracle, not with action, not with effort, with a voice. A king declares and armies move, a judge speaks and lives are changed. One word, and reality bends. And here's the part most people never face. You've been doing this your whole life. Every sigh, every complaint, every time you said, "I can't afford it." That wasn't weakness. That was a verdict. And money obeyed it. Neville Goddard warned, "Your word is law." Not metaphor, not poetry. Law. That's why the rich keep getting richer. They speak wealth as if it cannot betray them. And it doesn't. That's why the poor stay trapped. They curse themselves with their own tongues. And reality obeys them too. So the real question isn't, does this work? The real question is, what verdict are you handing down every day without knowing it? Because tonight, I'm going to give you a line, a command so dangerous it was hidden in whispers. The one command money cannot resist. Repeat it, and watch large sums bow. Think about how often you've heard this line. Money doesn't grow on trees. It's probably one of the first lessons society hammered into you as a child. A warning, a curse dressed up as wisdom. And from that moment on, your mind began weaving a story. That money is rare, money is heavy, money is difficult. Now imagine being 5 years old, hearing those words over and over again. You don't argue, you don't question, you just accept, you start to believe. And belief becomes law. By the time you're an adult, that law is so deeply ingrained that you don't even notice it anymore. It runs quietly in the background of your mind like invisible code, and every time you face money, that code plays its script. This is going to be hard. This is going to take effort. This is going to hurt. And life, obedient as always, mirrors it back to you. Bills arrive right when you feel most vulnerable. Unexpected expenses drain your account. Promotions slip past you. You look around and wonder why some people float while you sink. This is what Neville Goddard called inner speech. It isn't the loud thoughts you scream out of frustration. It's the quiet phrases you repeat when nobody's listening. I'll never get ahead. I'm not good with money. It's always a struggle. Those words carve grooves into reality. And you keep walking those grooves like paths through a forest, again and again, until they look like fate. But it's not fate, it's programming. And here's the painful truth. Most people never realize they're the ones writing the code. They work harder, they stay later, they pick up extra jobs, desperate to outmuscle the problem. But the problem was never in the hours they worked, the problem was in the story they carried. Think of it this way. If you program a computer with the wrong instructions, it doesn't matter how fast the machine runs, it will only produce wrong results. That's what's happening in your life. You've been giving your mind the wrong commands. This is why some people seem cursed with bills piling up no matter how much they save. It's why others feel like money burns holes in their hands the moment they touch it. And it's why you've spent years believing wealth is something reserved for the lucky few. But here's the twist. Those so-called lucky few aren't operating under luck at all. They're playing a completely different game. They don't hold the belief that money is hard. In fact, they don't even argue with money. They live as if wealth belongs to them by right. And reality, obedient as always, confirms that belief. Meanwhile, the majority keep fighting shadows. They chant the wrong words in their inner dialogue, and then wonder why the echo returns with more struggle. It's a cycle. And cycles only break when awareness steps in. That's why this moment right now matters. Everything you thought was hard, the struggle, the lack, the fear, was only a lie. And today, that lie is gone. Now the law lives in your bones. Wealth obeys my assumption. Say it one last time with full power. Wealth obeys my assumption. That is your crown, your sword, your shield. Walk with it. Speak from it. Live as it. From here on, money has no choice but to follow. You are no longer waiting. You are no longer doubting. You are ascended, certain, inevitable. So if this message awakens something inside you, let it anchor deeper. subscribe, stay close, and keep walking this path. The throne is yours. And remember, forever, manifesting large sums of money is easy, because wealth obeys your assumption. I hope you enjoyed this video. See you in the next one, because you've probably felt the weight of that cycle. The exhaustion of giving more and receiving less. The gut punch of watching someone else succeed with half the effort while you double yours. And maybe you've even whispered to yourself in secret, there has to be another way. There is. But most never see it. They die still clinging to the lie that wealth equals labor, that comfort equals sacrifice, that abundance equals years of painful crawling toward a finish line that keeps moving. But you're here. And the very fact that you're here tells me something. Part of you already knows that story is false. You've felt glimpses of ease before, haven't you? Moments when money arrived in a way that shocked you. Maybe it was a refund you weren't expecting, a gift that felt impossible, or an opportunity that fell into your lap without effort. In that moment, it felt like magic. But it wasn't magic. It was truth breaking through the cracks. It was life reminding you that the old story isn't the only story. Still, as soon as the glow faded, your old programming kicked back in. That was just a fluke. Don't get used to it. Back to the grind. And so, the walls closed in again. This is the tragedy of most lives. Not that they never glimpse the truth, but that they glimpse it and then bury it under the weight of disbelief. The struggle isn't money. The struggle is belief. Neville said, "Your assumption, though false, if persisted in, will harden into fact." And you've been persisting in the assumption that money is difficult. That assumption hardened into your world. But here's the good news. What hardens one way can harden another. What once felt like a curse can flip into a blessing, because the same principle that built your struggle is the principle that will free you. And in a moment, I'll show you the hidden truth that wealthy people live by, the one that makes money flow to them while the rest keeps struggling. But before we go there, pause for a second. Let this sink in. The weight you've carried around money was never natural. It was never written in stone. It was never the law of the universe. It was a belief. And beliefs can change. For centuries, people have been tricked into believing wealth must be earned drop by drop, like water drawn from a stubborn well. And yet, if you look closer at the ones who have it in abundance, something doesn't add up. They don't strain the way others do. They don't clench their fists. They don't run on fumes, praying the effort pays off. Instead, there's a lightness to them, a confidence, a sense of ease that almost makes others jealous. Why? Because they know the hidden truth. Wealth isn't earned. It's assumed. That sounds radical at first, maybe even insulting to the years you've spent fighting for every cent. But stay with me, because once you see it, it will shift the ground beneath your feet. Think of a river. Does it struggle to flow downhill? Number. The river follows the path of least resistance. Gravity handles the rest. Or think of a magnet. Does it sweat to pull iron filings toward itself? Number. It simply exists as it is, and attraction is automatic. Or think of your own breath. Do you force it with effort every second of the day? Number. Breathing happens naturally, without resistance, without strain. This is the nature of wealth in its truest form. Money was never designed to be something you wrestle with. It was designed to move toward you, just as rivers flow, magnets pull, and lungs breathe. The only reason it has felt otherwise is because of the assumptions you carried. Neville Goddard said it clearly. Man is all imagination, and God is man, and exists in us, and we in him. The eternal body of man is the imagination, and that is God himself. What does this mean for you? It means the world outside bends to the pictures and words inside. If inside you assume lack, you project struggle. If inside you assume ease, you project wealth. The wealthy understand this, whether they could put it into words or not. They don't hope for money. They don't beg for money. They live in the assumption that money already belongs to them. And so it comes. Not because of effort, not because of luck, but because reality has no choice but to mirror assumption. You've probably noticed this in small ways. When you assume you'll be late, you almost always are. When you assume someone dislikes you, you begin noticing every gesture that confirms it. When you assume something will go wrong, life faithfully delivers proof. Now you know the secret wealthy people live by. Wealth isn't earned, it's assumed. And if you want to keep walking with me into this deeper power, hit subscribe, because the next part will push you to the very edge of everything you thought you knew about money. Now flip that. What happens when you assume wealth? At first it feels strange, like a costume that doesn't fit. Your mind argues, but I don't see it in my bank account. I don't feel it in my wallet. Who am I to pretend? But this is where the truth separates the wealthy from the struggling. Wealthy people don't wait to see before they assume. They assume first, and the seeing follows. It's like planting a seed. You don't wait for the flower to bloom before believing it exists. You assume it will grow, and so you water it, you nurture it, you prepare for it, and sure enough, it rises from the soil. The same is true with money. When you assume it belongs to you, your thoughts shift, your energy shifts. Your actions naturally align with abundance, not scarcity. And reality, as it always does, bends to match. This is why the grind often fails. Struggle is rooted in the assumption of lack. You chase because you believe you don't have. And the more you believe you don't have, the more you confirm that reality. But when you shift into ease, when you truly assume wealth belongs to you, you no longer chase, you attract. Think of seasons. Does winter strain to become spring? Does the sun fight to rise each morning? No. It happens effortlessly because it is assumed in the order of things. Wealth is no different. It's not a prize you win. It's a season you enter once you assume it's yours. The tragedy is that most people never learn this. They live and die under the old program, sweating for pennies when they could have been flowing into abundance. But you're being invited into something rare. The hidden truth is whispering to you right now. Money responds to assumption, not effort. This is the fork in the road. The moment where you decide whether to keep living under the lie that wealth equals pain, or to step into the truth that wealth is simply assumed, and therefore inevitable. And make no mistake, once you make this shift, your life will not look the same. Bills that once haunted you will begin dissolving. Opportunities will show up in ways that feel orchestrated. Doors will open where walls used to be. Because assumption rearranges the world. This is why Neville taught, assume the feeling of your wish fulfilled and continue feeling it until that which you feel objectifies itself. Wealth is not about waiting. It's not about begging. It's not about clawing your way uphill. It's about standing in the truth, right now, that abundance belongs to you. And when you do, something unexplainable happens. Life, obedient as ever, reorganizes itself around your new assumption. What once felt impossible suddenly feels effortless. Not because money changed, but because you changed. And from this point on, the game is different. Picture this. A wave crashes on the shore. Another follows. Another. Did the ocean sweat to make that happen? Did it write a business plan, hustle, or worry about whether the tide would come in? No, the tide is inevitable. It cannot be stopped. Now, imagine your own heartbeat. Right now, inside your chest, a rhythm is pulsing. You're not forcing it. You're not micromanaging each beat. It happens because it is assumed by life itself. Seasons shift. Winter surrenders to spring. Summer folds into autumn. You don't bargain with it. You don't struggle for it. It unfolds without effort because it is already written. And yet, when it comes to money, most people live as if it's the one thing exempt from this effortless law. They fight for it. They chase it. They bleed for it. But what if money works the same way as tides, heartbeat, and seasons? What if it isn't something you must strangle into existence, but something that arrives because it's already woven into the rhythm of life itself? This is the edge. This is the point where everything begins to crack open, because up until now, you've been programmed to believe wealth is conditional, that it only comes to those who fight hardest, that the universe is stingy and you must prove yourself worthy. But that's a lie. The truth is far simpler, far stranger, and far more powerful. Money follows assumption the way waves follow gravity. This is why some people never sweat over finances. They don't panic when bills arrive. They don't lose sleep when markets dip. They carry an inner knowing, this belongs to me anyway. And reality, obedient as ever, bends to match. But let's pause here. Feel the tension. You are standing at the edge of something enormous, because once you cross it, there is no going back. Here it is. The truth that has been circling you like a storm, waiting for this exact moment to land. Wealth obeys my assumption. Let it sink in. Not chance, not luck, not grinding until your bones ache. Wealth obeys your assumption. Every dollar that has ever arrived in your life came because you assumed it, whether consciously or unconsciously. And every struggle you faced came because you assumed struggle. Read those words again. Wealth obeys my assumption. This is not a metaphor. This is law. Neville Goddard spent his life teaching this. Assumption hardens into fact. What you inwardly accept as true, even if it looks false right now, begins to crystallize in the outer world until you can touch it, spend it, live inside it. This is why the wealthy seem untouchable. They don't assume loss. They don't assume difficulty. They don't even assume someday. They walk in the certainty that money already bends to their identity. And life, obedient as ever, mirrors it. Now pause. Say it out loud with me. Wealth obeys my assumption. Feel how final it is. Feel how it slams the door on the old story. Feel how it stamps authority into your bones. This is not another affirmation you whisper while hoping it works. This is a decree, a command, a law you are announcing to reality itself. When you say it, you are not asking. You are not waiting. You are not negotiating. You are declaring. And the universe has no choice but to respond. Think of a king making a decree. He does not wonder if his subjects will obey. He assumes they already do. And that assumption is law. The same is true for you. When you say, wealth obeys my assumption, you step into the throne of your own life. You stop begging money to arrive and begin commanding its obedience. And here's the shift. Once this becomes your identity, ease replaces struggle. You no longer chase. You no longer stress. You no longer wear the mask of lack. You walk differently. You speak differently. You carry yourself like someone who already knows the outcome, because now you do. Wealth has no choice. It obeys. Neville said, assume the feeling of your wish fulfilled and continue feeling it until that which you feel objectifies itself. This is the very heartbeat of creation. If you assume wealth is distant, it will stay distant. If you assume wealth is yours, it arrives. Not because you begged, not because you deserved it through suffering, but because assumption itself is the cause. And right now, in this moment, you are rewriting the cause. Say it again, louder this time. Wealth obeys my assumption. Let the words echo inside you. Let them crush the old whispers of lack. Let them seal into your identity like fire-hardening steel. Because this is the moment everything flips. The struggle is gone. The old programming is dead. And, from here forward, you are no longer someone chasing money. You are the one money obeys. Not tomorrow. Not next month. Not once the stars align. Now. Every time a bill comes, this is your command. Every time doubt creeps in, this is your command. Every time you want more, this is your command. Wealth obeys my assumption. And the more you live from it, the more unshakable it becomes. Until one day, you look around and realize, you no longer wonder if it works. You simply live it. That's when wealth feels as natural as breathing, as automatic as tides, as inevitable as your own heartbeat. Because it is, and now you know it. Let this sink in. Wealth obeys my assumption. If you feel that fire in your chest, subscribe right now, because from here on, every video will anchor this new identity deeper until money flows to you as naturally as your own breath. Now that the truth is in your hands, the question is simple. How do you live it? Because this isn't about chanting a phrase once and then slipping back into old habits. This is about embodying a new identity, moment by moment, word by word, thought by thought, until it becomes the only way you exist. So let's walk through it. Imagine a bill lands in your inbox. The old you feels the rush of anxiety. You look at the number, your stomach drops, and your mind whispers, "How am I going to pay this?" That thought is assumption in action, and the assumption of lack creates more lack. But the new you, the one who commands reality, stops right there. You look at the bill and declare, "Wealth obeys my assumption." And then you shift. You assume ease. You assume payment is already handled. You assume that money arrives as naturally as breath. And what happens? Suddenly, you notice options you didn't see before. You remember resources you forgot you had. Unexpected income flows in. The bill dissolves into proof that wealth really does obey. Or picture this. You have a desire. Maybe it's a trip you've always wanted to take. Maybe it's a home that feels impossible. The old you would immediately list reasons why it can't happen. Too expensive. Too far. Too unrealistic. But the new you, the one anchored in assumption, does something radically different. You don't argue with the desire. You don't choke it with doubt. You simply say, "Wealth obeys my assumption." And then you assume it's already yours. You imagine yourself in that home. You picture yourself on that trip. You feel the joy of receiving it. And you don't check the how you don't calculate timelines. You live from the truth that it belongs to you. And soon enough, the path unfolds. Not because you forced it, but because wealth has no choice but to obey. Now let's take the hardest test. Setbacks. Say you lose money. An investment crashes. An unexpected cost wipes your savings. The old you panics. The old you spirals. "I'm cursed. I'll never recover. This is proof I'm not meant to have money." But the new you doesn't flinch. Because you know the law. You know the truth. And you stand firm in it. Wealth obeys my assumption. So instead of sinking into fear, you assume recovery. You assume the return of abundance. You assume the setback is nothing but a setup for wealth to flow in greater measure. And soon enough, it does. This is living it. It's not theory. It's practice. It's training your inner speech every moment of the day until ease becomes automatic. And yes, it takes persistence. But here's the gift. Every time you choose assumption over fear, you weaken the old story. Every time you declare the command, instead of slipping into panic, you dissolve another layer of lack. Until one day you notice, the panic doesn't even show up anymore. Bills don't scare you. Desires don't feel distant. Setbacks don't shake you. Because the identity of struggle has vanished. You're not trying to manifest. You're not hoping it works. You're living from the throne. And from the throne, wealth obeys. Neville Goddard taught, "It is not what you want that you attract. You attract what you believe to be true." This is why the daily practice matters. The goal is not to want wealth. The goal is to assume wealth, to believe it so deeply that wanting collapses into having. So here's how you practice. When doubt whispers, replace it immediately with the command. When you feel anxiety, breathe and remind yourself, wealth is automatic. When you face expenses, assume ease. When you see opportunities, assume they belong to you. And above all, never chase. Because chasing is the language of lack. Declaring is the language of wealth. This is why people who live from assumption appear magnetic. Others look at them and think, how do they get everything so easily? But what they don't see is the inner speech, the silent declarations, the identity of ease. And now, that identity belongs to you. So live it. Carry it into every situation. Watch how life bends in ways you never imagined. Watch how doors open, money flows, and desires show up without effort. Because wealth is not a stranger anymore. Wealth is your obedient servant, and it will follow you as long as you continue to command it.